What is society? That's not a big question at all. What is society? So subsection 2A here. It's neither individualistic nor collectivistic. I'm going to ask this in a minute, but by saying it's not individualistic, you've immediately lost the average secular libertarian. The collectivists were gone long ago because we were talking about freedom and stuff. But anyway, let me just read this here. Society is not a single whole. Rather, by society, we mean the numerous individual and communal relations of several varieties. There are inter-individual relations, communal relations, and inter-communal relations. While only individuals act, neither society nor any communal relation can be properly reduced to only inter-individual relations. And an individual is never a mere part of a given community of which they are a member. Communal relations differ from inter-individual relations in being comparatively more enduring and involving authority arrangements. Neither individuals nor communities are more basic than or have their origin in the other. Individuals and various communities are themselves wholes, ultimately structured or formed by God in creation. In this sense, we reject both an individualistic and a collectivistic view of society. Okay, so often we see libertarians oppose collectivism, and we even see there's a whole camp within the big lowercase L libertarian camp. There's a caucus in the Libertarian Party called I think it's called the Individualist Caucus. So tell me, these terms, individualist and collectivist, are often the two ends of the spectrum, seeking to explain how society should be structured and humanity should be, human society should be perceived. So why is a non-individualistic and non-collectivist view of society important?
So both individuals and communities or collectives or groups, however you want to put it, are real. And God made them both. And it is you could say it's a reductionistic tendency, or even a sort of idolatrous impulse in non-Christian thinking to latch on to one or the other. But the outstanding feature, as has already sort of been alluded to in the created world, created reality as God made it, is a diversity. And it's failing to pay attention or live in accordance with this that gives rise to all sorts of distortions and harms. Erroneously viewing or treating society as one single thing or one kind of thing, when it's actually a diversity of things and a diversity of kinds of things. And I try to sort of specify that in terms of different kinds of relations, inter-individual relations, communal relations, and inter-communal relations. There's sort of broad categories for describing the different kinds of things that society is. One mistake that you can make is an individualistic, or if you prefer, an atomistic view, in which communities are thought to be less real than individuals. They're just mere aggregates of individuals. And we miss that different kinds of communities are genuine wholes in themselves and function by their own God-given norms. So, concretely speaking, a family is a real thing, right?
Right.
It's not a imaginary or superficial relationship that a husband has with his actual wife, and the wife to her actual husband, and the children that they naturally produce, or they can also adopt as a kind of, analogy of natural prodigy. But in any case, we understand what families are, and those things are real. And
Right.
they're not other kinds of communities,
Right.
right? So communities exist, and they're not just aggregates of individuals. They have their own characteristics, their own function, and their own normativity. Now, here's the possible satisfaction that we can give our fellow libertarian and libertarian anarchists, is that an erroneous individualistic view of society shouldn't be confused with a legitimate methodological individualism of praxeology, meaning the study of human action, right? One of the correct principles of the study of human action is that only individuals properly act.
Right. Well,
And
that's where
that's,
that's the next question I was about to ask was, how has the secular libertarian individualism camp been unhelpful, and why is it wrong or partially wrong? And you just answered the question. When it goes beyond human action and says, this is a fully formed sociological unit,
yeah.
then it's gone too far.
Yeah.
Individualism. Go ahead.
Well, when it tries to interpret communities as mere aggregates, and I think some of that is mythological, as a misunderstanding of the individualist tradition, so to speak, or the praxeological tradition. I think a lot of even secular libertarians understand they're not atomists. They don't actually have an individualistic view of society, which is helpful. But then on the other hand, some do. So,
Right.
it's not without reason that accusation has been thrown. But in any case, there's a distinction to be made between the principle that only individuals act, by which is meant that individuals choose. Individuals choose. They coordinate chosen means to some goal. So it's individuals that have goals and coordinate means to goals. So that's methodological individualism. In any case, an individualistic view of society, taking society to be just a matter of individuals, is not correct. The other error, the other mistake that can be made as a collectivistic view, is one in which there's some kind of total group of which other communities and individuals are just parts, right?
Right.
So it's viewing individuals and communities, other communities, as mere parts of some community, is the collectivistic error.
You're
And
reduced to being a cog in the wheel.
yeah, and so you're not only missing that there are various distinct kinds of communities that are distinct wholes in themselves, but that individuals themselves are also wholes. And both of those mistakes, an individualistic view of society or a collectivistic view of society, both those mistakes contribute to increasing authoritarian totalitarianism by the state, right? So an atomistic view contributes to devaluing community and leading to increasing isolation, and that isolation feeds into that
Right.
one pretense of the aggregate being society and the state are the same, and
Right.
that state being totalistic.
Yeah. Well,
both those views come
that's
to exist.
commonly that error is commonly expressed in Christians when if I bring up something the state is doing that's reprehensible. They're like, well, that doesn't really directly impact me, so why should I care?
Mm,
And it's like, well, you belong to the society in which this is being allowed to happen, and just because this evil isn't knocking on your doorstep yet doesn't mean that it's not affecting you, or it's not a real problem, or that's not evil.
right, right.